Thanks everyone for coming today. We are so excited for today's talk. Chris Willard, as many of you all know, is very passionate about his purpose and his fulfillment and how he contributes his gifts to the world. So with Genre Hotels, Two Hands to Employ, the nonprofit organization that he started, and now with Hospitality Mastermind, he's found fulfillment and purpose by giving back to others. So he's going to dive deep into his values and what contributes to that, and as well as his success that he's found through giving back. So Chris, why don't you tell us a little bit more about your backstory, your experience, and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you, Jen. And thanks everyone for tuning in. I know it's a busy, crazy day with tax day. If you didn't know that now, I just reminded you, so you're welcome. But yeah, a little backstory about myself is I've been in the hospitality industry for a little over 12 years now. And before that, it was real estate. So right out of college, I thought everything was working out great, had a decent run, and then the recession came in. And then I had 2 credit cards maxed out because I was not being smart with my expenses. And then I literally had to step into a new transition. So a friend of mine told me about this visa and passport company. Was not looking forward to it at all. What is exciting about visas and passports? But it was humbling because I became a courier. I'd had to get up early to go to the consulate offices, the federal building. And little by little, I believed in, putting in the effort, and worked from a courier to a visa consultant, and then worked my way up in sales. But then I realized that it was interesting to connect with all these amazing companies like Nike and Facebook and have this niche business of creating these contracts. But through that experience, I was fortunate through a mutual friend to meet this human being called Carrie Flowers, which was at a company event. And I remember the first time I met Carrie, literally, he came up to me and I was like, whoa, this guy's got some serious personal space. No offense. But he looked at me, he's like, wow, you got like no sense of fashion. So we were both kind of, so obviously I was like really into black. So that's my color back then. So obviously more color. But I got to know and connect with Carrie and heard about the company that just started called Genre Hotels. And it was lifestyle. It was working with hotels. It was kind of like real estate and architecture. And little by little, I connected with him, became my mentor, and stepped in that space, which then really allowed me to understand what purpose and fulfillment was all about. So almost 11 years later, here we are with a whole new type of space and opportunity. So it's been great.
That's amazing. Thanks for sharing, Chris.
Yeah,
I just want to remind everyone that please feel free to type in your questions in the chat box. We love your questions as they come up, and we'll keep this flow going. So today's agenda, we're going to cover 3 important topics: finding revenue through value in corporate social responsibility, identifying and discovering your path of purpose, and also creating and contributing to a fulfilling cause. So Chris, you mentioned that People Matter organizations focus on 3 kinds of stakeholders. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so first off, let me just explain what People Matter organizations and companies are all about. And Aaron, it's good to see you as well with the course. I'm so
finally
happy.
Figured it out. Sorry. I was lulled in for a while.
No worries.
Thanks for having me.
But People Matter organizations are really companies that show that people are valued, that they are treated with respect and empathetic to their needs. And so really want to focus in on what that really is within 3 different segments. So it really comes down to 3 stakeholders. And the first one is team members. And my team members, they're on this call right now. We got Jen, we've got Claudia, Walter, and Carrie. And I respect them so much because they go above and beyond. And there's this sense of transparency and vulnerability, which is so important. But as a team member, I want you guys to consider these things, okay? Are you tired or overwhelmed in your current position or past position? Or are you excited and stimulated in the space that you're in? Another one would be, are you undercompensated? Or are you financially validated? Are you encouraged to think outside the box? Are you creative? Do you dream big? Or is it just a check off the box in the business that you're in? Do you feel like cogs in a machine, or are you an integral part of pursuit in a greater mission? See, these are things as team members that we all want to be a part of, because who you surround yourself with, the foundation that you place, is a big part of your growth and really stepping into purpose and fulfillment.
Great. Chris, I have a question here. Was there ever a time where you felt any of those things, the tired, the overwhelmed, the undercompensated?
Yeah, I think ultimately, you know, when you get in a new company, you're trying to figure out really what your passion is, right? And your purpose. And I think at first, you know, I felt that way, but in reality, I think with Carrie, you know, as a leader and also as a mentor, he really allowed myself to be transparent and vulnerable and see that there was something greater to be a part of. And so, you know, past businesses, 100%, Jen, I would say I never felt my groove. It was more of a paycheck, and it was a disconnect in so many ways. But, you know, specifically in this space, I feel like I really groove and learning to become more authentic every day.
That's great. So what type of steps did you take to get out of that kind of stuckness or that rut?
Well, for me, I think the first thing for, I think all of us that's on this call today is transparency and vulnerability. And with that comes constructive feedback. So, you know, if we can just admit to our mistakes and be in a position to have a brand audit, you know, ask our team members, what are areas that I can improve on? What are things that I become better at? That to me, I felt was just allowing ourselves to work together and be vulnerable and just become better in that space.
That's awesome. So what other stakeholders were you talking about for your People Matter organizations?
As you guys all know, majority of us here in this space are in the hospitality industry. So really it's composed of three. So we talked about team members. The other ones are customers. And, you know, I'm looking at Donna Jacobson here today as a customer, right? She's an amazing travel agent in the entertainment space. And I think when it comes down to customers are we showing value and respecting and appreciating all the hard work they do for us? Or is it just another transaction? And, you know, with that do we go above and beyond to send a little message on LinkedIn or send a gift box or get on a call and just to see how they're doing personally? Because what I realized, I think in my success and within probably each one of us, is that it takes that extra step in appreciating the clients that you work with and the customers. And so, you know, that's a big one, I think, for all of us. You know, an example of a great customer that you all know of is Southwest. You know, what they do as a company is, you know, you can check in bags for free. If you need to change your flight, there's not this crazy cancellation fee. You know, it's that above and beyond experience that you want to do. And specifically with that airlines, you know, I heard that this man's nephew was in a coma, and basically he had to get from LAX to Denver in a short matter of time. So he called corporate, explained the situation, and he was running late to his flight. But what was pretty powerful was the person who showed up at curbside as he was connecting with someone at the airlines was actually the pilot. And the pilot said to him, "We're not going anywhere without you." So it's it's one of those things that, what are we doing to our customers to make them feel an integral part of our success? And we work together to go the extra mile. So
Amazing.
that is customers. And last but not least, I want to just expand real quickly on vendors. You know, I think this is one that kind of can get away, is we shouldn't just focus in on one vendor that we work with as connecting in. We need to support and respect all of our vendors. And it's one of those things where, you know, are we reminding them of all the support they've done for us? You know, we have a company called iHotelier Travel Click. And for those in hospitality and hotels, you know, that's the interface that we work with and the technology and products. But I think sometimes it's more of a transaction rather than appreciating all the little details that go along with these vendors. So the more that we can connect with them and the people within that company to show our appreciation, that's huge. And I know Carrie reminds me all the time when it comes to our hotels, is to always go to those who pay the checks and just get to know them and say thank you. And I think it's one of those things where we can't just focus in on one person. Who within the company and organizations can we connect with and really give our respect and appreciation? So again, these are the three stakeholders: our team members, our customers, our vendors. And if we really focus in on those details, if we focus in on, can we give a praise report for all those three? Can we potentially do a letter of recommendation when they need to transition to another company or business? Because it really is about people matter. And we got to get out of the focus of just a transaction and think about how are we making an impact for the people that we connect with.
That's awesome, Chris. We've got a question from Omar Rivera. Do you feel that the culture of your present organization helped you lead this team?
Yeah, I think in as far as leadership, Omar, I thank you for that question. You know, I have to remind myself of being a servant first, because, you know, I was very competitive in sports, played throughout college. And I think, you know, I'm looking at a few athletes on this call today, actually, which probably understands, probably the majority of you guys are athletes, but it really comes down to being a leader is really making sure that you're being present with the people you're with, especially on your team, and that you be the example rather than talk about being the example. So I try to make sure that's transparent and clear. And I'm not going to lie, I think I've butted heads with my team members quite often because I'm so about, you know, the results. But in reality, Omar, my reminder really comes down to really, what's your mission, right? What do you care most about? Is it the success of the company, which is important, or is it the success of your character? And that's one thing that I constantly work on myself daily.
Great. Omar, do you have anything else to say there?
Yeah, I was, thank you for that answer. You know, sometimes, you know, as persons who are leading or, you know, any organizations that we do, we tend to forget that we're leading a team, and then we're just like me, and it's just not you. Like, you know, I feel like that's a lot of, I've seen it a lot in different companies that I've worked with. Like, you know, leaders just think about themselves and don't think about the others that are surrounded. So I'm glad that you were able to answer that, you know, because that was make you a stronger team, you know, because they respect you. Because if there's not a back and forth with your team, well, you're not leading a team. You're just leading. Everyone's just doing their own stuff.
Yeah. And Omar, I think, you know, going back to what I said about a brand audit, I think we have to take an account of our actions daily and make sure that, you know, we don't overstep. And it really comes down to the we before the me, because we can't be successful as a company if Claudia isn't focusing on her position or Walter and or Jen or Carrie. And sometimes when we feel that our success is the results we bring in, we have to take a step back and be reminded of, thank you team, thank you each individual for, all those extra steps and those details that you took so we can become successful. But my encouragement to you is as a company is, do a brand audit. I could send you guys some information on that brand audit that we do and questions that go with it. But daily reminders is a huge.
Absolutely. It takes the teamwork to make the dream work, right?
You said it.
No one person can be successful on their own. They definitely need a team of support, encouragement, and community. So that's awesome. Okay, absolutely. Great. So Chris, what is your why within the hospitality industry? And how are you putting that into practice?
So, everyone's why is different. A friend of mine once mentioned to me, know your why and you'll always do your how. And I remember that really stuck. And, I'm very much of a spiritual focused person. And I think everyone has their foundation that's important to them. It could be family, it could be faith, it could be career, it could be a ton of different things. But I always felt it really comes down to, are you utilizing the resources within your career? If you have a platform, what are you doing with that platform? And so about 5 years ago, just a long story short we saw the need within Los Angeles. We saw that almost 2 million people in LA are dealing with poverty, 600,000 are children. And we took time in Nickerson Gardens, which is one of the projects in LA, and sponsored gardens and cleaned things up. And then that transitioned to, connecting really with the disadvantaged individuals who need to be educated and mentored and employed. And we created a nonprofit because collectively as a team, we felt that we had an opportunity to give. And that basically supported a lot of individuals to know the value of hospitality, know the value of these skill sets, but also have a career into an incredible, industry that we're in. And I always like to use the word career. And it really comes down to, our why really is changing lives by building careers, not just giving someone, a job, but it's really teaching them how to fish and really having the opportunity to grow and develop. And I know Jen, she's going to be showing this quick 2-minute video, and I want to give you just a quick backstory of this why. Raphael is one of the students of this organization, and I want to give you a human element of what people are going through. He was in a gang. He was abused as a young kid. He was with the wrong crowd, turned to drugs and heavy alcohol. But he got cleaned and sober through an organization. And eventually he came to us to become mentored and transition into a career. And it actually has given him now a whole new pathway. So if you can kind of just watch this quick video, we can expand on that.
Absolutely. This is just a couple minutes, and it is a graduate of Two Hands to Employ. And he's going to share his story. Work efficiently.
Yeah, to the far right, I think.
Can everyone hear it?
No volume.
No volume?
Mm-mm.
Oh, I don't think. Can you hear it?
No volume, guys? Can you hear? No? No? We could.
Maybe it won't work this way.
Yeah, we could take it off and I can just expand on the video.
Okay, let's do that.
Just real quickly, guys, and I wanted to show that to you just because, this individual, he really was interested in culinary. And it's going back to each one of us. What are we interested in? What are the things that we want to achieve and develop? And I think it's not demanding something on someone. It's giving them an opportunity of wanting to grow. And Raphael is a student who, was curious in culinary. So he started as a dishwasher attendant. And then he became a prep chef, a sous chef, and now he's actually stepping into the next step as an executive chef at the Annabelle Hotel. And it's amazing within these last 3 years how he's applied himself. And it says right there in specific video, you guys can watch, we'll send you the link, that he said that his son probably won't recognize him anymore. And I think the goal for each one of us is that we want to step in to life that people don't recognize us anymore, because we're so in this whole new space of authenticity. And always be reminded of that in your space, because when you feel there's something within yourself that's wanting to grow, continually develop that as a person and for others. And it'll be amazing how in time, it's not what you say, it's what you do. And that's what will really make you feel success and fulfillment.
Thanks, Chris. I can tell that you're really passionate about that and even almost got emotional there. Can you share a little bit more about what you're feeling?
One of those guys, it's an emotional thing, because I think all of us, we all desire to become more than just a paycheck and more than just our career. And we're in a very challenging time of the unknown, right? Everyone's going through something one way or another. But I always believe that, really understand what's important for you, and really get a feel for what is authenticity. What are your values? If you feel like you're trying to grab a hold of things just to fill your needs for that moment, go deeper. And why are you stuck in certain ways? But there's so much joy when you act part of something that is part of something bigger than yourself. And I know that luckily I found that, and part of me wants to share that to the world, but also encourage others to find their own. So that's probably the emotional space of where I'm at in that.
That's awesome. I mean, we definitely appreciate your vulnerability and your openness. That is certainly a sign of strength, of course, in these challenging times. We've got a question from Jonathan Ruiz. So in these challenging times, what are some suggestions that you have to keep focus on your purpose?
I think, everyone's purpose is different, and I think it could take years to develop. But, my purpose really focused in on just taking that one small step of service and being a part of an organization or a cause that I felt that I could be of support to. But, in this time right now, I would just say, if it's not identifying a cause specifically, I think purpose really comes down to just being vulnerable, being transparent. I think checking in with the people you love, you care for, and having like heart-to-heart conversations, because we can learn so much from people. And also just look up to those that connect with people that you look up to as a mentor, and get guidance, because it really comes down to community, an authentic community, and we can't do this alone. So that's my encouragement to your question.
Great. Jonathan, do you have anything else to add there? Unmute. No.
Awesome.
Okay. Then we've got another question from Edward Visito. Jen and Chris, what explorations do you recommend to discover your why? So Chris, go ahead.
That's great. Edward, I know you're a performance and mindset coach, so you always have those really to the point questions, which are great. Love it. Explorations, I always say that education is key. And for me specifically is being very mindful of the time we spend every day, how much television we watch, the news that we take in, the type of people that we get information from. But I think it comes down to really your fundamental truths and training that you're applying yourself daily. You know, I like to read specific books on purpose, of course. This is why I'm talking about this topic, and faith. And, you know, I look at that as kind of a universal truth that can give me strength and then discernment to actually put that into practice. So Edward, the exploration really comes down to, what are we doing at this given time to build ourselves up? And being very mindful of the information that we take in, because we got to really, you know, what you feed is what you become. I think you've all heard of that. And right now it's so important that what we feed in our lives is authentic. It resonates to you, and it could really protect yourself to grow as a person. If hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, that's amazing. Edward, any other comments?
Well, you know, what I'm really touched with, and what really comes through for Chris, is your core values and how your core values drive you. You know, what I'm hearing from Chris is authenticity, transparency, vulnerability. And if those are the three core values that drive him, it's no wonder and Genre Hotels is successful. It's amazing, you know. And you know, the other thing I want to add to that is, in addition to your core values, is, you know, what is your personal mission statement? You know, in many ways, like all the companies that you work for, you know what they want to do, what their vision and dreams are. You know, as far as your why, and what I'm still going through this journey is, you know, what is my personal mission statement? Going through the exercise that any company would go through to figure out what I personally want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I discover my why.
Absolutely. And you hit the nail right on the head there. It's a lifelong journey, this why. It's the ebbs and flows, it's the ups and downs. And if you figure it out in your 20s, it changes by the time in your 30s, 40s, 50s, right? So there's never just one linear path of purpose and fulfillment. It's, you know, a winding road that forks in many ways too. So absolutely. Okay, well, we've got some words of encouragement for you, Chris. We've got Donna Jacobson saying that you've certainly come a long way since she met you 10 years ago.
Isn't that a process, right? Yeah, and Donna, I appreciate that. And I think, you know, it's a combination of living in the false self that I think we all can agree with, and creating, you know, listen, this is not beating myself up or anyone up right now. I think when we get so caught up in a routine, and I think sometimes we look at our upbringing, how we put the finger on people and situations for how we are. But what I realize is everything in life is a choice. You know, everything is about taking it accountable for your actions. And, you know, Jen, as a awesome mindset coach as well, it really comes down to, with, you know, how she helped Carrie and I and the team. It's about vulnerability. So it's one of the things is that I always wanted to take responsibility for my actions. And for those that I've hurt and who have treated unfairly, is to go back and be the bigger person. Because, you know, there's something about that space and being true to your core, and also just trying to live by example, that it's, like Jen mentioned, it is a lifelong time of exploration and figuring it out. But we give ourselves grace and we step in every day becoming better, then you'll be surprised what breakthroughs will come along through that process.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, you said that before, Chris, where just taking small steps towards what you're passionate about, what you're interested in, you know, where you find joy and fulfillment, those are really like the first steps if you haven't yet touched on exactly, you know, your why or your purpose. So taking those steps and then learning and figuring out whether it's the right way or the wrong way, I mean, literally, it's all feedback.
So true. Absolutely.
Carrie said something nice as well. This is not a question, but an observation. Over the years, Chris has grown in the space he's in. He is a hard worker looking to grow. When a team member has criticism, he is the first to listen and learn. His heart is big, and this makes him a success.
Thanks, Carrie. Really appreciative.
Well, it's true. It's I think about, like, it's not easy for most people to really explore that within themselves. You know, we're always working hard, and you know, there's always a pressure for us to succeed. And with that pressure comes, you know, a lot of difficulty. And, you know, I take it to our team members as well. It's like, you know, we all have the ability to, like, help each other out with how we can be better. And it takes a big person to listen and to take that criticism and to use it to your advantage. And part of that is your success of understanding that. So it's important that you know that, because, you know, as you grow in this space and you become that even better leader, it's going to serve you so freaking well that you're unstoppable, you know. And then to the team member as well, we see it because we can see the growth in that person, being whether it's you or somebody else. So me as the leader of the team, it's great for me to see how each one of you, and you in particular in this space, has grown. So I want to say thank you to you.
No, thank you, Carrie. I appreciate just, you know, and it's going back to Carrie and mentorship, there is that one person that you could find and connect with, who you look up to for advice and support and influence. And that would be an encouragement for each one of you, is that find that, whether it's in your career or outside of it, in as a soundboard that will really help shape you as a person.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. That's so touching to hear that from Carrie as well. I'm sure, you know, just the growth, and as well as what Donna was saying, just to see your growth over the last 10 years. I'm sure that's pretty awesome to see and witness. Leah Brown would like to comment about something that she uses to try to find her purpose, is relying on an acronym called SHAPE: spiritual gifts, heart, abilities, personality, and experience. Leah, do you want to talk more about that? Oh, unmute, please.
Sorry.
There. Go ahead.
Okay, so actually there is a book that I'm reading right now. So that's where I got that acronym SHAPE. It's called The Purpose-Driven Life by Pastor Rick Warren. So it's like 40 days of trying to figure out what your purpose is. So SHAPE really is, S of course stands for spiritual gifts, which is unwrapping your spiritual gift. And then H is for heart, so just listening to your heart. I have the book in front of me, so let's see. And then A, abilities, is applying your abilities. P is for personality, so using your personality. And then E is for experience, so employing your experiences. So I think that kind of, in the very end, when you're trying to write your mission statement, this is what it suggests that you should look at to help you put that statement together.
That's great. What book is that, Leah?
It's called, here we go, Purpose-Driven Life by Rick Warren.
Awesome.
So it's 40 days of, you know, so each day you just kind of read the chapter.
Great.
And they're short. They're like 2 to 5 pages.
Oh, amazing. We all have ADD during this time.
Yeah.
Great. If you can put that in the chat, and then everyone can maybe check it out. Thanks,
Okay,
Leah.
will do. You're welcome.
Leah,
Awesome.
and Leah, thank you for sharing. You know, that book resonates to me so much. It's probably a book I've read over and over again and connected with some of our students. And, you know, the word purpose is so powerful, because if we hold on to something with purpose, then we can wake up every day living for something greater. And no matter what happens, no matter what challenges we face and difficulties we go through, if we hold on to purpose, we will overcome. So I love the book, and that is definitely a powerful message, throughout that. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, that's awesome. And something that actually reminds me with the shape and that acronym, something that I tell people with their questions about, how do I find my purpose? This just seems so daunting and overwhelming sometimes. It should be really 3 things to check off. 1 is that you're great at it. 2 is that you are great at it. Oh, now my mind's drawing a blank. Great at it. Yeah, it'll come back to me. So anyways, Chris, what are some practical ways of having success through a cause and turning it into an ROI for businesses moving forward?
I think this is the $1 million word, right? Or acronym as ROI, return on investment. And, I'll give you an example personally, and I'll give you, and I'll expand on some companies that are doing a good job with the cause element. So during this time of pivot, these last, 4 months of COVID is, it was really about what could we do as a company and as an organization to bring 2 hands to employ to the surface. And I think a lot of businesses, we put a cause as a stamp, right? To say, by the way, we help this, but how can we really bring it, to the forefront? So working with amazing people like Jen, our team, and we're getting experts in the field such as Chip Connolly, Pete Gamez, Carrie, performance and mindset coaches. We're launching in September a leadership and performance training program. And we're going to help people unlock their potential, both professional and personal, while making sure that everyone who purchases and contributes to these accelerator courses is going to have that like for like focus. Someone who goes through training will give a student training. So they'll be educated and they'll be prepared and potentially mentored to find their passions, find their purpose, and also step into a career. So who would have known that the silver lining of COVID would actually bring something like that to the surface? But there's always an opportunity, I think, specifically when there's challenging times like now, whether it's professional or personally. So always look deeper into that space. For one, other companies, I want to give Aaron with Accor a shout out. I went on the website and just see how special and cool they are as far as their giving back element. And they basically transition or transfer points from rewards to donations. And they make it very much of a focal point as a company to bring specific causes to the forefront in ways of volunteerism. So Aaron, thank you for what you guys stand for as a company. I think that's amazing. I'm hoping Kind Traveler is here on the call. She may have had a Zoom or internet issue, you never know. Even if she is or isn't, Kind Traveler has a give back, get back model. And that's a really cool way to actually bring their entire database of guests and travelers to the hotel by getting a discounted rate, and proceeds go back to the cause, and the company specifically picks a cause usually connected to the community. But there's so many ways, I think, when it comes down to an ROI. And as a business model, you can really membership cross market, find sister properties or companies willing to expand on a newsletter and message what you guys are collectively working as a team to put the word out. But it really just comes back to, I think, what I messaged before, which was the 3 stakeholders. And return on investment isn't just about finding a cause that you can brand and message. An ROI for a cause is who you are as a person and how are you influencing your team members, your customers, and of course your vendors. And when you step into this space of going above and beyond and finding something that's bigger than yourself, you'll be so surprised how the ROI of growing as a person, but also seeing the success of your business actually comes up.
That's amazing. Thanks, Chris. So what would be, what would be your one personal takeaway that our guests can walk away with?
So, I want to expand on a proverb that I believe is universal for everyone. And I want to expand on the importance of this. And it says, how much better to get wisdom than gold and sound judgment than silver. And right now at this time, let's not focus in on the glitz and the glamour and how much money we have to make, which I know at this time we got to survive, right? So we definitely need to make money. But I think our priorities and our focus in on being grateful, having thankfulness, again, showing gratitude, being there for others, and working on areas in our lives that we can take an account for will be a huge part of coming out of this even greater. So again, can we focus in on that wisdom? Like, what are areas in our life that we just need to have better discernment? And as far as sound judgment, what is that in our life that we can really focus in on and identify purpose, identify fulfillment? And if we really take an account and surround ourselves with the right people, really work on the correct information that we take in, you'll be so surprised at how you're going to be transformed and how you will find success that really comes from within than an actual paycheck. But when you live for something greater than yourself, you'll wake up every day as this new experience and lifestyle. And I would say probably that is that takeaway that I want to give to all of you.
Thanks, Chris. We've got one more question from Omar. What advice would you give to someone who has devoted all his career to one company and now looking to expand his network outside?
Wow. I guess I can relate, right? Because I feel I've been with Carrie since I was a little boy. I don't know how long it's been, but my advice, Omar, for you is just be the change. I'm not sure the culture within your company and if that's holding you back at all, but you'll be surprised that as you work on yourself and continually find and identify purpose, that there'll be people around you that will ask and identify what that is. And, when you're going outside of this space, I think it comes down to identifying what you really are connected to and with. And if it's a cause, is that a cause that can bring people in? Because I always believe in that human connection and support. And there's such a need, especially at this time, which you guys have seen it all around us, that, come together and be a part of something that you can grow in relationship, grow in support, and be of influence. And even if it's that one person that you're supporting, that's success.
Absolutely. And also just to expand on that, I mean, if you take those small steps like we were talking about earlier to meet people who share the same interests and passions as you, to do things or activities outside of your work that make you happy or give you joy, naturally you're going to attract people that share those same values and interests as you. And then organically, your network will expand with people now that you share those same values with.
Yeah.
Can you
Jen,
say, Chris?
You hit it on the dot, and Omar, as far as connecting with the right people. Not everyone, and it's okay, not everyone is going to be connected to Two Hands to Employ, where we help disadvantaged individuals, right, in this hospitality space. But that's okay. I think whether they're connected to a cause or not, as long as you become a part of that cause for yourself, right, and share passion of what you're interested in, you'll be so surprised how people want to gravitate towards that And those are the ones that you want to hold close to. And if they're not, then that's okay. It's not for everyone. So be all right. Don't try to change people to be on your side. Just continually be you and work on being authentic. And just like Edward's saying here, authenticity, vulnerability, being in gratitude, that I think will eventually be a statement of its own.
Absolutely. Chris, do you want to wrap up some closing comments?
Yeah, guys, I'm just so grateful for, each one of you for being on this call, and ones that I barely know, ones that I try to push on this call via LinkedIn last minute. I'm hoping that we can remain friends, stay connected. And, my advice to each one of you is stay encouraged. Let's not focus in on the hysteria of what we hear on television or from others, but let's focus and fixate today on gratitude. Find 1, 2, 3 things that you can be grateful for today. Write that down, meditate on it, and let's start living it out and just keep each other accountable, because you're all awesome. You're all making a difference one way or another. And even if you feel like you're not, you are. So just appreciate all of you.
Thanks, Chris. And everyone will be receiving a feedback form email. If you can, please just take a couple minutes to fill that out so we can learn a little bit more about you, as well as gain feedback to make these calls even better. And just a quick chat about what we've been creating. Like Chris said, we are launching our performance and leadership training program in September. And if you want to learn more, we'll just let us know if you want to have a quick chat about, what your biggest challenges are in both your business and in your life. And we'll try to do our best to give you focus and clarity with your goals and, the plan that you need in order to get there. And so we can discuss that further. And if it works out that we can help with your professional and personal growth, awesome. But if not, then perhaps you can just gain some insight to your current situation. So thank you all for being here. Let's give Chris a round of applause.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day.
Have a blessed day. Talk soon.
Thanks, everyone.